In this video, I'm going to go over the elements in your control to improve your mental health. What this means is just make you happier, more fulfilled, and being more capable in handling the difficulties of life. I'm going to talk about topics from all different walks of life, from your physical health to how to build a social circle, all the way to stress reduction techniques like laughter. But I want to start with goal setting because, at least for me, the biggest pattern in my life has been that when I am on the verge of a goal, I am the most driven, I am the most fulfilled, and in general, life is just the most enjoyable. Coincidentally, the time that I have been the most lost in my life has been shortly after achieving this goal because I kind of lose a sense of purpose and I don't really have any structure to my day around this goal anymore. I experienced this with my finances. So I always had this goal of hitting $100,000 in net worth. There was no reason it had to be $100,000. I just thought it looked cool on the investment app. And it's kind of a status symbol, especially if you do it at a young age. And so around that time that I was about around $85,000 net worth, any of the tasks that I had to do to make money, that could be menial, they could be repetitive, they could have been boring, could have been difficult, could have been things that like otherwise I wouldn't have enjoyed doing. I actually found a lot of enjoyment in doing them, and I found them extremely rewarding because I knew with each step I was getting closer and closer. Like I could physically see it when I was putting in money into my account. I did end up hitting this goal. I do remember the day that I put in the deposit into my investment app, and it kind of switched from 99,000 to 100,000. And it felt really good for like a very short amount of time. Because afterwards, I kind of realized that my life didn't really change by hitting this number. And in fact, a lot of it is invested in a stock, and that stock had a down day. Like the index fund that I'm invested in had a down day, and it kind of went back down to 99,000. Even having hit that goal and then having that experience not be what I thought it was going to be, I would still recommend this approach to, younger me and any of you guys, because there was kind of two options there. Either I just let the world do what it's supposed to do, like I just follow the script and whatever is given to me is given to me, or I kind of get this idea where I am going towards something and each task I do gets me closer to that. And, even if I have a setback, I know that I have things in my world, like I can pick up more shifts, I can save more money, I can get more clients, I can, go for a higher paying job. Those things get me closer, and it kind of puts the ball into your court. It gives you accountability and gives you freedom in, dictating how fast you're going to get there, which, is a huge thing for your mental health, having the freedom, which is part of why I had this goal of $100,000. But I'll cover the finance portion of the mental health aspect towards the end of the video. Also, I want to quickly shout myself out on YouTube Shorts because I try and have a challenge going on in my own life so that I can, show you guys what I'm actually saying. And, it gets you guys involved while putting accountability on myself and, teaching you guys how to have the gamification mindset and goal setting mindset with actual examples. The first one I did was shooting a basketball every day. And now it is documenting my fat loss journey. In the future, it could be, learning a new language, following a health maxing protocol, or, you guys can just give me the idea. Once I recognized this pattern of enjoying the chase, sometimes even more than the result, I realized that I needed to always have some main goal that I'm working towards. I think the best goal to start with here, if you really want to take your mental health seriously, is first your physical health. It is something that is very clear to work towards, and unlike other goals that might take months or years to see the results of, in some cases you will never see the results of, your body responds pretty fast to, stimulus in the gym or a change of diet or adding a cardio routine and, burning more calories to lose weight. The nice thing is about this too is that everybody already knows the fundamentals of, how to be healthier and improve your physical health. It's eat less junk food, get more exercise, lift weights, go outside, sleep at least 8 hours around the same time. And all those things improve performance in everything else from your energy, mood, and the goal of this video, mental health, right? You can't really have one without the other. And I genuinely don't understand anybody who, has the goal to be great at something, but then also the same person doesn't take care of their physical health. I work in tech, so I see this all the time. There's so many students studying all day for better grades or to become better workers at their job or trying to grind for a promotion, or even just guys starting their own business. And they have the skills and they have the motivation, but they are capped by their energy and their longevity, which can easily be boosted through the, physical health protocols that, we all know work. And it's crazy to me that people who even consider themselves like experts or are solely focused on mental health rarely bring this fact up. There's so many times that I have been stressed or I have so much going on in my life and in my mind, and I can kind of forget about it for at least time being by putting myself through something like a hard and intense workout, literally just one bout of exercise, or recognizing that you have made progress from 1 month to the other, or even just going for a walk after being inside of your home all day can completely change your entire mood and how you feel about the rest of your day and how your willingness and your resilience to take on new challenges. Like, I really wish we could just prescribe people exercise instead of something like antidepressants first. I've made more videos going into advanced details for protocols to increase things like your testosterone, which in itself is a strong antidepressant, so you need to be increasing that. Whatever comes to your mind that could improve your physical health that you don't think you're already doing and that you need to do, that should be the main thing that you do. Even if your routine isn't optimal according to whatever science-based YouTuber is there, who, side note, a lot of these YouTubers want you to be confused about health, and they want you to, not know what to do and second guess yourself, because that way you will watch more videos and they make more money. Now, if you're ready to make physical health your goal, but you're overwhelmed by all the different pillars that you would have to fix, like for example, maybe you need like 5 things to be fixed. Your diet isn't good, your sleep isn't good, you don't have an exercise routine, and you stay home all day. Start with like one of the main pillars first, the thing that you think you need the most. So for example, if it's sleep that you think would be the most helpful for you, deep dive on that for like a week, maybe even a month, where you're tracking, your sleep mostly. You're watching YouTube videos, you're watching training, you're reading podcasts or reading books, watching podcasts about that specific topic, and actually get yourself started with the fundamentals that you read within like the first like 20 minutes. The fundamentals is what does most of the heavy lifting anyway, but by focusing on one aspect, every week, every month, every time period, you start learning things in like bite-sized pieces, and the goal itself becomes way more measurable and way easier to follow, while at the same time, you're actually getting progress instead of just having so much like knowledge overload. When I first started making health a real priority in my life, I used to be so confused about figuring out what is optimal that I wouldn't even do a lot of the things that I found out online because there was just so much. Those are the things, all that knowledge that there was, it felt very overwhelming. And that was the thing that made the gym uncomfortable. And that kind of stopped me from taking the first step when I really should have just focused on doing the actions themselves. Why this is so good for your mental health is that things like lifting, running, and sports are all forms of controlled stress, where your body is going to release endorphins, improve your dopamine pathways, and basically help you learn and adapt and stay resilient. This is why embracing struggle, especially in the gym, actually makes you less overwhelmed outside of the gym. You start associating effort with progress instead of associating it as like something painful, right? And of course, one of the progress metrics that you will see is that you will look better. And it's very, I don't know why people don't like to say this, but if you look better, you will feel better about yourself. Use the gym to put on muscle, and then use cardio and diet to lose fat. That is the lowest hanging fruit, despite what, a lot of looks maxers will tell you, for improving your looks. Even for me right now, I'm cutting, and in my face, I can see it. I look a lot better than what I did when I was like peak bulk. People don't want to talk about looks and mental health and that correlation, but my experience in my life was the time that I was the most down on myself was in my teenage years, because, I thought, and to an extent I was, pretty ugly. And so because of that, I didn't want to socialize as much. I felt ugly and I didn't want to get made fun of for it. I didn't want people treating me, poorly because of it. And personally, what helped me break out of that was, not settling for like, who I was and the habits I was doing. And instead, using that pain to make change. That's the first thing that gave me really a lot of shred of confidence in how I look. And, it's nice that you can do most of the heavy lifting, no pun intended, just by eating better and exercising. Once you start improving this area of your life, you kind of start building a track record, and you prove to yourself that you can stick to something difficult, and that gives you momentum. And after that, it becomes way easier to identify and pursue something that you are genuinely passionate about. Better yet, you are, actually obsessed about this. Should also be something that you are naturally good at, that solves a problem or creates value. And it's even better if there's a community attached to this for your own mental health. So that could be school, that could be a skill that you want to learn. You can even start with something that's less risk, like a hobby. Once you have that, your social life becomes easier because you can socialize with people that have similar passions with you, and you basically have a reason to be outside of the house. I talk about this a lot, but staying indoors all the time slowly destroys your mental health. Because what it does is it feeds into our vices, like internet addictions, social media. What this does is it makes us quite antisocial and risk averse when we're trying to speak to other people. But when you spend more time out in the real world, you realize that it's not as bad as the internet makes it out to seem. Try and spend more time at school, at work, at a cafe, go to a commercial gym. Be somewhere where social interactions happen naturally and you don't need to force them as much, and they become way less scary than what the internet might tell you, and they're way more fulfilling than having internet relationships that you don't even know the other person across the screen. This leads really well into the next point that I want to talk about, which is finding a community of people that are going through a similar struggle as you. If you think about it, a lot of friendship comes from the fact that two people are facing similar struggles and they have a shared effort to go and beat those struggles. Some things could be like studying together, training together, working on the same goals, or if you're taking the same classes, or competing on the same sports team, or competing against each other to become better at the sport. When you share difficult moments with people, what you do is you build trust and accountability with these people. And that's like the best way to learn about people more naturally, is when you guys are doing something together. You learn about things that they might not necessarily tell you about. And once you have that group kind of made, or that friendship made, you should kind of be the one to propose other experiences with them if you haven't already, assuming you actually like these people and they are, conducive to the goals that you have in your life. Some things you could do is, go out to eat, share a meal together. It's kind of natural for us as humans to bond while eating. So that's like why people go out for lunch and stuff like that. We all need to eat, so that's something that you can do together. But at the same time, you can get some more adventure in your life. Go and travel, go for a night out, go watch a comedy show together. There's so many things you could do. Basically, you want to introduce novelty in your life and do it with other people, because it is so important for your brain to adapt to new social situations. And honestly, it's just fun to, be out and have different things going on in your life. One thing I mentioned there is comedy shows. And the reason is because I kind of wanted to segue into the next point that I want to make, is that for your mental health, you are not laughing enough. People underestimate how much laughter helps with mental health. It lowers stress hormones like cortisol. It signals, safety to your brain. If you are laughing in a group of people, and one way to do that is with a comedy show, or, if you have dinner with your friends and you guys are making jokes, you guys are making banter, you subconsciously get a feeling within you that you are part of the group, which is very important for humans based off of years of, evolutionary biology of us working together in tribes. So if you have a group of friends where you genuinely laugh with each other and not at each other, that is something extremely valuable. So cherish it and make sure, you use the most out of it. Some of the best periods in my life have just been moments where I have just laughed with my friends until like physically hurt. I've gone on trips where, we missed a train, or like we missed something, and plans didn't go our way, but that's not what I remember from the trip. I don't remember any of that negative stuff that could have happened. Instead, I remember, those moments that we were on the train and we were all just laughing about a joke that somebody made. The last thing that I want to leave you with is having a long-term mindset in basically every part of your life. You want to think of future you as a person, and that you in your present time wants to make that person, feel proud of yourself. That could be, saving more money, staying consistent in the gym, learning a skill that is going to be useful in the future, finishing a degree, or even putting in effort socially. And when you act with your future self in mind, your mental health becomes better because you stop rushing, you stop expecting instant results, and the work that you are doing now is going to set up your future, so you have a purpose. You don't panic over these small setbacks. You think in years and decades, and you realize what actually matters because you are playing the long game. It gives you stability in your life, gives you direction, which is something that most people are missing. There's actually one extra bonus, last thing that I want to talk about, which is gratitude. I feel like these days we live in such a victim mindset time where in reality we are probably living in some of the best times in human history. Think about all of the things that you have that you wouldn't have had 50 years ago. I'm talking about like the knowledge that you could gain from the internet. I'm talking about the connectivity that you can get to meet other people in your life. I'm talking about the, options that it opens up. Like even Google Maps is so like useful and transformative, at least for my life, where it's unlocked so many experiences for me that like otherwise I would have to use regular maps, and maybe I wouldn't have taken that step as far. It's so important for, it's been so much better for our safety, having the internet, um, you know, the productivity that we put in, the time that you put in with the use of internet, like multiplies what you're actually getting out of your work, and, the money making ability that you have. We have so much information on if you want to improve your health. Before you'd have to just, you didn't even have, you might have not even had access to like books and stuff like that to actually understand whether what you're doing is optimal or not. And I say optimal because I talked about the fundamentals and how important that is. So take some time to have some gratitude about the time that we live in, but also about the gratitude, also gratitude for yourself for doing things in the past, especially if you have made progress in any of these goals for yourself. And then also gratitude for the people that are in your life, whether that is your parents who have worked a job to, support you, whether that is your friends who have been there in times that you needed, or even just a stranger who, held the door for you. Like, try and have gratitude for most of the positive things in your life. And I promise you, if you actually focus on that, it does wonders for your mental health. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below and subscribe to the channel. And again, check out my YouTube shorts. I try and post, actionable ways that I've used the things that I talk about, as well as like other, motivational or self-improvement related content.